Welcome to the 2023 AFC Virtual Travel Show. My name is Will Reece, and I am happy to be here with you today as we talk about the 2023 tours and cruises we have available to you. This is our first of two virtual travel shows for January, and we'll also be out in the communities around us and our travelers in the coming months in the states of California, Arizona, and Texas. And there's a list of our public shows on our website at afcvacations.com, so please join us at one of those as well. Today we'll run through our 2023 preview, including some fantastic new tours in our brochure. And all of our tours are well managed by an expert team both in our office and on the road with our tour managers. We have so many different trips to choose from. Not all of them can fit on one show, so we'll incorporate new tours and cruises as we go throughout the year as well. And as we head toward the new year, we're really looking forward to a lot of these fantastic tours that we have planned. Now, we offer tours, cruises, and train programs worldwide with a number of varying travel styles, whether it's a European river cruise, a tour of the national parks, or a vacation in Hawaii. We handle all the details for you. Our one hotel stays allow you to unpack once and settle in. And our tour managers are an unbelievable group of knowledgeable, helpful, and organized individuals. They truly care about your experience, and they go above and beyond to take care of all your needs on tour. Now, the hotels, activities, and dining that we provide on tour give you a taste of local life with many meals that introduce you to the regional specialties of the area. We also incorporate cultural experiences with many of our dinners. The hotels we use are well located and comfortable, and the included sightseeing make our trips memorable with guided commentary to bring the destinations to life. We offer inclusive and honest pricing with no gimmicks or tricks, and our prices include round-trip air, home pickup, or a credit if you wish to make your own arrangements to the airport, and I'll talk about that more in a minute. Now, we also have all sorts of different ways to save, whether it's our early booking savings, that incorporates first 10 to book, first 20 to book, and actually we've just incorporated a new segment of that incorporates the first 50 to book. I'll go into details on that. We also have a refer a friend program. It's a great way to save some money there as well. Now, our trips are really about people, and the people in our office do a fantastic job of taking care of your every need along the booking process. So a few of the key pieces of what make AFC Vacations so special really come down to our excellent team of real people handling all the aspects of your program here in San Diego. Our staff has a wealth of knowledge and expertise and over 130 years of travel experience combined. And we look forward to assisting you to make your travel easy. We include round-trip air on all our tours from many different airports that you can see in our brochure. And at AFC, we also offer a low-cost travel insurance, and that has a cancel for any reason benefit that provides security as you move closer to your tour. Now, for over 25 years, we've been making travel easier by providing round-trip airport pickup service. We pick you up at your home, take you to the airport, and bring you home from your return flight. It takes a lot of the guesswork out of getting to and from the airport. One of the things we've incorporated new for 2023 is a $100 credit if you make your own arrangements to and from the airport. Now, with the growth of Uber and Lyft, we found that a lot more people are asking about this method of travel. And this means if you choose not to take the home pickup service, we will actually reduce your final payment by $100 per person. So if you live near the airport and share an Uber or taxi with your spouse or travel companion on the way to your tour, generally that's around $45 to $50 each way of savings. You could spend that on shopping or a great meal in one of our destinations. And speaking of our destinations, we'll start into some of the West Coast trips that we have to offer for 2023. And this is a great tour that we're excited to bring back for just one departure in 23. April 26th, we're heading out with Chris McCool. This is your only opportunity to see these 6 state parks and 6 national parks combined. This starts and ends in Las Vegas, Nevada, and we'll head from there into the beauty and nature of the national parks by staying 2 nights in Zion. Now, the valley floor is surrounded by 2,000-foot high Navajo sandstone cliffs of red rock are absolutely stunning, whether it's rain or shine. And the park has over 1,000 species of plants, including cottonwood, prickly pear, and yucca. We also include a visit to Bryce Canyon to see the hoodoo formations, which have eroded with wind, rain, snow, and ice. And these rock formations attract millions of visitors per year. They have all sorts of unique shapes and styles. Now, we include both Capitol Reef as well as a 2-night stay in Moab, which is the central point for visits in both Arches and Canyonlands. Capitol Reef National Park is a hidden treasure filled with cliffs, canyons, domes, and bridges. And Moab is smack dab in the middle of Arches, Canyonlands, and 100 other sandstone adventures. Now, Goblin Valley is a lesser-known park, and that's a state park with a landscape that's often compared with Mars. So it was discovered by cattle ranchers searching for lost cattle in the 1800s, and it gets its name from goblin-like sandstone formations, so similar to the hoodoos. But I'd say if you mix the Badlands of South Dakota and the hoodoos of Bryce Canyon, you get Goblin Valley. And it's just an amazing sight to behold, and became a state park in 1964. Then we visit Monument Valley. That's located where many of the Wild West movies were filmed, in a beautiful wide open territory. And our grand finale on this tour is a stop at the north rim of the Grand Canyon to see its splendor. So there's still some single supplement savings discounts available on that departure as well. Now, Pacific Coast, Seattle to San Francisco, this is a great journey to highlight some of the best sites on the West Coast. So you get to see the 3 main cities of the northern stretch, along with national and state parks along the way. And I used to run this tour quite often. This is a summertime program. And truly, to be honest, July, August are the best times to hit the area of Seattle. Now, this is a fantastic city, and we do a city tour incorporating a lot of the great neighborhoods like Fremont and Ballard. And we also visit the Space Needle and spend some time for lunch at the Pike Place Market. Then we work our way south into the southern part of the state and see Mount St. Helens from the visitor center there. And then we enter into Portland for a 1-night stay and also incorporate the Rose Test Gardens. Now, this is a stretch of gardens that expand for several acres, and it is a beautiful park overlooking the downtown area of Portland. Now, obviously, Portland's got the mantra of keep Portland weird, and it stays true to itself. There's some fantastic little funky shops and stores, but of course, Powell's Books is one of the most popular. Then we head down the Oregon coast, and this is one of the most jagged, beautiful stretches of coastline in the entire world. And so we get to enjoy a lot of that, as well as the sand dunes. So the sand dunes just south of Florence, Oregon, are some of the most beautiful stretches. So you'll see that along the way. Then we wind down in Oregon with a visit to the Rogue River. And on the Rogue River, we do a jet boat ride. This takes you along the river itself, with some fun captains that take you on a little splash journey. And as we enter into California, we start into the Redwoods. So right on the border of Oregon and California, there's a massive stretch of this Redwoods National Park in different segments. And so you really get to get out into the woods and spend some time amongst the redwoods. We continue down the coast with a stay in Eureka. This is one of the most popular lumber towns of the 1800s, and you'll see that in a lot of the beautiful Victorian homes that are on display there. And then as we continue to San Francisco, we stop for a wine tasting. So you really do get the full California experience. And we wind down this tour, August 13th, with a San Francisco city tour. So the city by the bay, which highlights the Golden Gate Bridge and so much else in the heart of the city by the bay. So again, August 13th is this departure. We incorporate 8 days and 11 meals. Now, the California Rail Discovery is kind of a continuation of that. We start out in San Francisco doing a city tour as well as a bay cruise. And from there, we work our way to the east and spend time in Muir Woods. Now, this is a segment of coastal redwoods right on the northern stretch of the city of San Francisco. So just past it, right near Marin County. And then we also work our way into Napa Valley for a wine tour and tasting, and then end up for a night in Sacramento. And as part of this tour, we do a portion of the old Sacramento area right by the river where they used to haul the gold back from. And then also visit the Railroad Museum. Now, this is probably top 3 museums in the United States for me. It's an unbelievable museum dedicated to the California stretch of railroad. We work our way by train the next day, taking the Amtrak up and over the Sierra Nevada mountains and into the Tahoe area. So we'll end up in North Lake Tahoe in a town called Truckee, and then continue around the east side of the lake into South Lake Tahoe. And that's where we'll stay for 3 nights. We'll work our way over to Virginia City. This is the home of the Comstock Lode, the old silver mining. And then also visit Reno for the National Automobile Museum. We do a Lake Tahoe paddle wheel cruise and do a fantastic farewell dinner at the end right on the lake. So there are 2 departures of this tour. June 7th, which is a guaranteed departure. Now what that means, and you'll see this on not only our brochures, but also throughout the show, guaranteed departures are tours that have enough passengers to travel. They're ready to roll and head out the door. So these are guaranteed trips to go, and you can look forward to more dates being added to those guarantees as we move through this program. Yellowstone and Mount Rushmore. This is a great trip that hits 4 different states in the northern part of the U.S. And we start this tour in Rapid City. This is known as the home of the presidents. And on each of the corners of town, there is a statue to one of the presidents with all sorts of great facts and information. And you'll have some time to wander town as well. But around that area is the Black Hills. And this is a fantastic stretch, not only of landscape, but very important monuments. And we get to see Mount Rushmore, both by day and night. So we start out with a visit during the daytime, right around lunchtime on the first day. Get to explore there, and then come back at night for the illumination ceremony. And that's when a park ranger comes out and talks to you all about the history of the monument, the building, construction, and all the people involved. Then we also get to see Crazy Horse Memorial, and that was started back in 1948, but it's a continuous process and may take another 100 years before it's completed. We do the Black Hills as a loop tour and then work our way up to Deadwood. And Deadwood is home of the Wild West shootouts that we all know and love, famous Wild West, home to Calamity Jane and Wild Bill Hickok. And both of them are buried in the cemetery above town. So we get to learn a lot about the Wild West history there. And then continue over to Devil's Tower, this beautiful monolith in the bottom right corner, and get to learn about not only the rock climbing that still takes place there, but also about some of the Lakota Sioux Native American legends, like the Bear Lodge. There was a famous legend that a bear was living under the monolith and would attack the tribes. From there, we continue on over to Sheridan, Wyoming, and stay 1 night in this beautiful little town with some free time for dinner, and then head off to Cody. Now, Cody is home to one of my other top museums in the country, and that's the Buffalo Bill Cody Museum. Now, Bill Cody used to run a Wild West show for several decades with several of his friends in the Native American community and otherwise, and travel around the country telling people about the Native American culture and the life out west. It's a great promotion, but this museum features 5 different segments, not only of Western art, Native American art, history, and more. So really great visit there. And then we head into the east entrance of the national park into Yellowstone and travel along one of the most beautiful river stretches as we come in. We'll travel along Lake Yellowstone on our left-hand side, and this is generally where we'll start to see some of the wildlife. Buffalo are all over this beautiful park. And back in about 1995, they released about 25 wolves into the population of the park, and that kind of balanced out the wildlife overall and allowed everybody to live equally. We will do a full loop tour of Yellowstone the following day. We'll stay the night in West Yellowstone in Montana, come back in and do a loop tour of the south, including Old Faithful, the famous geyser, and several of the fountain pots along the way. Then we'll continue down into the Grand Tetons National Park, and we'll be driving along the Tetons for several miles as you see them off the right-hand side as we travel, and we'll stop along the way for photos as well. Then we make our way into Jackson Hole for the night, and this is a fantastic resort area that's become really popular not only for skiing, but also for whitewater rafting along the Snake River. And then we wind down this tour in Salt Lake City with a fantastic city tour, and that incorporates the Mormon Tabernacle as well as Temple Square and the University of Utah. So we have 2 departures on this. This is June 15th and July 13th. Then Great Trains and Grand Canyons is another fantastic trip. And this program is our most popular West Coast tour and top selling tour on the West. And you can see all the different departure dates, many of which are guaranteed departures. But again, we couldn't label all of them throughout this program. So keep an eye on the brochure, and that's where you'll see the majority of our guaranteed departures labeled. But Great Trains and Grand Canyons operates during the spring and fall as we avoid the heat of the Arizona summer. And we stay 5 nights surrounded by the beautiful red rocks of Sedona. So our first full day takes us around Sedona on a trolley tour that also stops at the Chapel of the Holy Cross, built in 1954, up in the red rocks. We take you to uptown Sedona, as well as the artist community of Tlaquepaque. And one of the big highlights is driving through Oak Creek Canyon en route to Williams, Arizona. And there we board the Grand Canyon Railroad for a historic experience heading off to the south rim of the Grand Canyon. So we jump off the train, maybe not jump, but head into Bright Angel Lodge and see the canyon laid out in front of you. So right at the back of the lodge itself, the beautiful scenery of the Grand Canyon. And then an unknown highlight for most is our journey on the Verde Canyon Railroad. And this takes us through the most lush and beautiful stretch of Arizona, lying just to the west of Sedona. Really, the biggest draw is staying at one hotel for your entire stay, where you don't have to pack and unpack over and over again. Many more highlights on this program, but those are the main ones and really do attract the majority of our travelers. Then we have Seattle, San Juan Islands, and Alaska. And Chris McCool will be leading this program on the 28th of July for 10 days. And we start out with a 2-night visit in Seattle. That incorporates a city tour that highlights the Space Needle and Pike Place Market as well. The market is the longest continuously operating farmers market in the U.S. and has all sorts of treats. We also head up to Edmonds, Washington, where we board a whale watching cruise to the San Juan Islands. And this is the epicenter of whale activity in Washington and in the Northwest. And so this is where about 3 main pods of orca or killer whale make that region their home. So usually it's the J, K, and L pods that travel through there. We then board the MS Westerdam for a 7-night journey on the last frontier of Alaska. And the Westerdam features an excellent bars, entertainment, and dining venues, plus completely reimagined suites. And the Westerdam is a fascinating destination in their own right. It's won multiple Best Cruise Ship awards. So on board, we enjoy live entertainment, regional cooking demonstrations, food and wine tastings, and all sorts of fun. Then the 3 main ports of call will be Juneau, Ketchikan, and Sitka. Each have their own unique features, Juneau with its gold rush history and nearby Mendenhall Glacier, Ketchikan with its salmon fishing heritage and Alaskan native roots, and Sitka out on Baranov Island with its connection to Russia and the Fortress of the Bear, which is a bear habitat. Then the main highlight of Hubbard Glacier, which is North America's largest tidewater glacier. It's over 75 miles long and 7 miles wide and feeds into the Pacific Ocean. So this is a can't miss opportunity to see the wonders of the Northwest and Alaska. Now, Hawaii 3 Islands has several departures for 2023. February 21st, March 17th, both of those are guaranteed to go. And then November 7th still needs some travelers, but I anticipate that's going to go as well. So the palm trees, the warm breeze at night, and the fresh tropical fruits are some of the high points of visiting the islands. And this chain of islands was created through volcanic activity and developed the 8 major islands of the archipelago that has 132 in total. Our tour features a fantastic overview of the 3 main visited islands with the most activities. That's Oahu, Maui, and the Big Island. We arrive on Oahu, where we stay right near Waikiki Beach in Honolulu for 3 nights. And the following day, you'll visit Pearl Harbor and get to learn all about the events that took place on December 7th, 1941, that brought America full swing into World War II. And you'll board a Navy skiff that takes you out to the site of the USS Arizona and the memorial there to pay respects to the men and women who perished. From there, you'll set off on a Honolulu City tour that includes Punch Bowl Crater, the state capitol, and Governor's Mansion. You'll have the choice of a day off at Waikiki Beach or take a Circle Island tour to see the Dole Plantation and North Shore, as well as some other highlights in the islands. From there, you'll head to the Big Island and visit Volcanoes National Park, as well as Black Sand Beach with volcanic rock. The sand here is pitch black fragments of cooled volcanic lava. And you'll check into your resort on the Kona coast and settle in for a 2-night stay. Then travel to historic Kailua Kona for dinner included that night. And that's where you get a chance to try some of the local beer by Kona Brewing or the famous Kona coffee. Again, both of those are fantastic features of local creation. Kona coffee, it's well known because it's grown in that volcanic soil. Then you'll enjoy the following day on your own or join a whale watching excursion to see the humpbacks, spinner dolphins, and other species that travel through the islands each year. You'll fly to my favorite island, which is Maui, and travel to the Iwa Valley to see some of the luscious parts of the island. Then we stay in Lahaina for 3 nights on this magical island, and in the morning head up above the clouds to Haleakala Crater. And there you get some stunning views of the once formidable volcano. Our farewell is a true Hawaiian experience with a luau that features dances that teach the story of the Polynesian culture. So again, 3 departures for this year. This is a 9-day program and 11 meals incorporated. Now, Waterways and Northwest National Parks is a true treasure to hit some of the great parks and harder to reach parks for most people. So we start out in Seattle. We fly in and stay 2 nights in the city of Tacoma. And from Tacoma, we work our way out to Northwest Trek Wildlife Park. And this is a natural preserve for specific animals, not only of the Northwest, but all over the country. So you get buffalo, wolves, and all sorts of animals there that you get to see up close and personal. From there, we work our way up to one of the tallest mountains on the West Coast, and that's Mount Rainier, standing over 14,000 feet. And we stop at Paradise Lodge to enjoy lunch and some of the great views out over the area. Now, if you see the picture in the bottom left corner, this is truly the experience of being in Washington, out of the city and into the forests. And you get that both at Mount Rainier as well as the Olympic National Park. Just all this beautiful moss covering everything. One of the great forests in Olympic National Park as well. So we work our way from Tacoma out around the peninsula to the Olympic National Park and stay 2 nights in Port Angeles. We work our way up to Hurricane Ridge Visitor Center, and this is a great way to see the Olympic Mountains, a great mountain range that stretches about 10,000 feet of elevation. And not only that, but you also get to see the Strait of Juan de Fuca, and that's a stretch of waterway that connects out to the Pacific Ocean. We work our way off to Port Townsend, and this is a fun little town. Dates back to about the 1840s and 50s with the early immigration into Washington. And we also do a whale watching cruise out into the San Juan Islands, as I mentioned before. The majority of the orca are running their way through between San Juan Island and Lopez Island as part of that archipelago. Then we continue back into the city of Seattle for a city tour with Pike Place Market. And we cross from generally Bainbridge Island into Seattle by ferry, so you get to see the city landscape laid out in front of you. But this has 2 departures, July 14th with Deb Howard and August 18th. And the Black Hills and Badlands is another great 1-hotel stay in the heart of the Black Hills. I'd say this is a top 5 tour of the West because it really does highlight the Wild West, all the history there, and it's easy to get around the main highlights from our hotel in Rapid City. So we start out 6 nights in Rapid City. That's our foundational point for our hub. And we work our way around not only the Black Hills, but also into Badlands National Park. And this is one of the most amazing geological parks in the entire country. You can see all the different layers separated by color, and our guides do a fantastic job of explaining the geological formations and different layers. Then we also do a fantastic experience, which is Custer State Park. And Custer is just south of Rapid City. It's a wonderful state park, and as part of that, we do a buffalo jeep safari. And that's where About 10 Jeeps or so take us out into the main heart of the park with wide open prairie and buffalo roaming just about everywhere. I think there's about 1,000 herd or 1,000 head of buffalo running through the park, and they are maintained by the park itself. Then we do a wonderful dinner at the game lodge, the state game lodge there. We work our way up to Devil's Tower National Monument as well as Deadwood, and we have dinner at the Fort Hays Chuck Wagon Supper, and that's the site of the Dances with Wolves movie set. So one of the other components on this tour is our 1880 steam train. It's about an 1.5 to 2 hour journey in the Black Hills on this historic train route. So really wonderful program, June 7th and July 12th. Coming from personal experience, I highly recommend this tour. Utah's Mighty National Parks is a really wonderful program, and it really is a geological goldmine. This tour brings to life the big 5 parks in Utah like no one else can. And we arrive in Grand Junction, Colorado, and that's where the group enjoys a welcome dinner. The next morning, we make our way out to the Colorado National Monument, and here visitors can see the remarkable effects of millions of years of erosion on a landscape of sedimentary rock. And there are 2 unique geological features here at the Colorado National Monument: biological soil crusts, which are similar to coral reefs, and they are easily damaged, and potholes, which occur in sandstone and collect rainwater. And the potholes also house organisms and create a breeding ground for amphibians as well as insects. Now here is Canyonlands National Park, and this is one of our first experiences. We also, as we're making our way out of Colorado National Monument, we stop at a wine tasting in the up-and-coming Colorado wine region of the Grand Valley AVA. Now, AVA stands for American Viticultural Area, and this is part of a 76,000-acre production of numerous wineries along the Colorado River. So Colorado has been producing wine in earnest since about the 1880s and gets similar weather to Napa Valley, Tuscany, and Bordeaux, but in a shorter time span. And that area produces fantastic Rhone varietals like Syrah, Viognier, as well as Bordeaux grapes like Cab Franc. From the tasting, we wind along the scenic byway of 128, Highway 128, and that's known as the River Road as it follows the Colorado River. Now that's a 44-mile long stretch, which forms part of the prehistoric highway, and it's an incredibly beautiful drive. And then we arrive in Moab, Utah, and we stay 5 nights at the same hotel there. This is a great hub for ventures into the different parks of Utah. Now, Canyonlands is our first full national park visit, and it's the largest national park in Utah. It sits only 32 miles from Moab, and the famous Island in the Sky sits atop a massive 1,500-foot mesa. Now, one of our next visits is Monument Valley, and Monument Valley boasts sandstone masterpieces which reach heights of 400 to 1,000 feet, while the sun also accentuates it, and these beautiful cloud formations pass by. But we do a lot of activities around Monument Valley. For instance, we do a tour through the valley with a guide, and this guide is a Navajo tribesman and teach us all about the culture of the Navajo as well as the rock formations and different components of this area. So some great shots. This is where a lot of those Wild West movies were filmed. So you can just picture John Wayne riding his horse throughout this valley. From Monument Valley, we also head off to Capitol Reef. And this is, again, a fantastic national park designated in 1971. And then from there, continue on to Arches National Park. And there's over 2,000 total arches of red rock formations and withered away by rain, wind, and snow. So unbelievable sights here as we travel along. But this is a fantastic program with several departure dates. We incorporate May 7th, September 24th, June 18th, and October 1st. Now, September 24th and June 18th are the 2 guaranteed departures, and we anticipate both May and October selling out as well. So make sure you book onto this tour as soon as possible. Again, this is one of the programs that is brand new to us, and we really look forward to hosting you on this. Our next program is our New Mexico Balloon Fiesta. This is a little bit later in the year, October 6th and 13th. Now, with this departure, we get to spend 2 nights in Albuquerque, and this is where we see the famous Balloon Fiesta. This is the most photographed event in the entire world, as balloons take off. About 500 balloons take off in the morning, and then again light up at night for evening glow. So we'll start the first full day with the mass ascension, and we also have a private tent that we have access to with snacks and so forth, coffee. And then we'll spend half a day in Albuquerque exploring the area on a portion of a city tour with lunch, and then come back for the balloon glow at night. So 2 wonderful opportunities to see this fantastic experience and fiesta, the festival. Then from Albuquerque, we continue on to the north. We visit the Indian Pueblo Cultural Center and learn all about the different Native American tribes in that region in the Southwest. We also head to the Los Alamos Bradbury Science Center, and this is where you learn about the Manhattan Project of World War II with the atomic bomb. From there, we continue into Santa Fe, and Santa Fe is a wonderful city. We do a full city tour incorporating the plaza, as well as getting out to Taos. Now, Taos is a Native American cultural site. It's still home to several pueblo and home of these beautiful home constructions like you can see in the bottom right-hand corner. Now, en route to Taos, we take the high road, which is a beautiful scenic drive. And then we also stop at Chimayo's El Santuario. And this is one of the oldest churches in the entire country, dating back to the Spanish period in the 1500s. And this is part of a pilgrimage that many people take, thousands and thousands of people between Santa Fe and Chimayo's El Santuario each year. So again, 2 departures. This is a very popular fiesta and experience to go out to the Balloon Fiesta, October 6th and October 13th. Now, Canadian Rockies and Glacier National Park is a new tour for us, and this tour includes round-trip air into Calgary, which is the largest city in Alberta. Calgary is home to the famous Stampede Rodeo. That takes place in July and runs for 10 days. And we make our way to the World Heritage Site called Head Smashed In Buffalo Jump. Now, this site is unbelievable. It sits with over 6,000 years of history and is where the Blackfeet tribe used to run buffalo off a 300-foot cliff during their hunting practices. Once the Anglo-Americans approached their lands and killed off the buffalo population, the Blackfeet had to relocate. And that's where this history kind of ends. So from here, we head to a place called Waterton Lakes, which has been a protected site since 1895. Waterton was Canada's 4th national park and is the smallest in the Rockies at 195 square miles. And here you can see beautiful clear lakes, diverse wildlife, and all sorts of surrounding mountains. Now we continue into Montana for 1 night and stay at the Glacier Park Lodge. And this is one of the least visited areas due to its remote location. But back in about 1850, there were an estimated 80 glaciers in what would become Glacier National Park. So in 2015, it's estimated 26 glaciers meet the size criteria to be considered a glacier. And it's a land of mountain ranges carved by prehistoric ice rivers. Features alpine meadows, deep forests, waterfalls, and 200 sparkling lakes. And you'll enjoy the first part of the day in Glacier Park as we ride what are known as red jammer cars. Now, these are fantastic ways to travel along the highway, historic cars from the 1930s. And we end this journey at Lake McDonald and head from there to Kalispell, Montana for an overnight stay. We work our way through the beautiful red walls of Sinclair Canyon and Radium Hot Springs as we visit Kootenay National Park and then make our way up to Banff for a 3-night stay. So again, this is a wonderful program, June 21st, July 19th, and August 16th. And June 21st is a guaranteed departure. Now, our mystery tours are a huge success and sell out nearly every departure. We have over 60 different mystery tour destinations with fun-filled activities, and our staff is here to help you pick the right departure for you. If you've done one or more mystery tours with us, at time of booking, our team can direct you to something new for you. How do they work? When you book, you'll be advised how to pack, the average weather in the destination, and some helpful hints. About 3 weeks prior to departure, you'll be advised what time your flight leaves on what specific airline. And it's always fun to tell the folks at the check-in counter you don't know where you're going. Now, once you check in, you'll get your boarding pass and find out where the first destination is. Now, you can choose to break that experience and open up your packet and find out the mystery early on, but it's best to always keep that a mystery from others. So the tour manager will meet you in baggage claim on arrival, and over the course of the trip, they'll reveal the tour components or give clues along the way. These are trips for folks who've been to most major U.S. cities and destinations, those who have a sense of adventure, and those who don't need to know all the details. They're awesome programs and great creative and fun itineraries with the season and weather considered. So as you can see here, we have several departures for this year. January, February, and May are all guaranteed departures at this time, and we look forward to adding more of the guaranteed departures to this list. Now, Niagara Falls and the Grand Hotel is an 8-day program, 6 days. And we begin the magical trip in Dearborn, Michigan by visiting 2 very popular attractions. And you can never have enough time in Henry Ford's museum. You start with the River Rouge plant, where you literally watch F-150s being made in a moving assembly line. Now, Ford wanted to collect items of historical significance and items that portrayed the Industrial Revolution. So the museum collection contains the President's limo of John F. Kennedy, Abraham Lincoln's chair from the Ford Theater, and Thomas Edison's laboratory. Also, several other important objects in that museum. Now, who wouldn't want to unwind, disconnect, and enjoy a peaceful island stay with no cars and being picked up by a horse and carriage to take you up the hill to an imposing, lovely property for 2 nights? And that's where we experience Mackinac Island and the Grand Hotel. So Mackinac Island is car-free, and we actually take a ferry about 15 or 20 minutes over to the island. We're picked up by horse and carriage and taken straight up to this beautiful hotel. And one of the nights we do a fantastic dinner and get all dressed up in your finest. So it's a really fun experience to do that as well. Now, you'll tour the island by horse and carriage as well the following day. And when we leave the island, we go across the Mighty Mac suspension bridge. And we spend a night in the town of Frankenmuth. And it's got all sorts of Bavarian shops and the Christmas Wonderland. It's the largest Christmas store in the entire country. And then as we continue on, we work our way over to Niagara Falls. And we don't just see the falls. We experience it in a number of different ways, except for going over in a barrel, like you see in the IMAX presentation. We go behind the falls, where we don rain ponchos. We take a boat ride up to the base of the falls, and we get to hear the power of the falls. We walk alongside the feet away from the power of the Niagara River. And while this is not right next to the falls, it's the event that most people enjoy the most. And you have nearly 3,000 tons of water flowing over Niagara Falls every second. That accounts for 75,000 gallons of water per second over the American and Bridal Veil Falls, and nearly 700,000 gallons per second over Horseshoe Falls. So Niagara is capable of producing over 4 million kilowatts of electricity, and that's shared by both the US and Canada. So several departures on this program: May 12th, June 2nd, September 23rd, and October 7th. Our first one's already guaranteed, and this is a fantastic program, one of our top sellers in the Midwest. Our Best of Chicago is another great Unpack Once tour. So if you like to settle into one hotel and unpack once and really make it your home for your trip, this is a great spot to do it. And we stay in the heart of Chicago at the Palmer House by Hilton. So we'll spend 5 nights in the city, enjoying a city tour on day 2, and that features a visit to the Willis Tower and Magnificent Mile. That's the premier commercial district of Chicago. Now, I was just in Chicago a couple of months ago in November, and it was absolutely beautiful. So weather can be fantastic, and we've chosen times to go when that is the case, May and September. But on day 3, you'll take a tour to learn about the history of Chicago's gangsters of the 1920s and 30s. You have Al Capone and John Dillinger. And that afternoon, you'll tour Wright's studio, where Frank Lloyd Wright lived and worked. You'll spend day 4 in Racine, Wisconsin, and that's where you'll visit the research and admin buildings of S.C. Johnson Wax, whose factory produces Windex, Glade, and many other daily products. Then afterwards, you'll see the Johnson family mansion that was completed in 1939 by Frank Lloyd Wright, and get a chance to tour the Wrigley Field, which is home of the Chicago Cubs baseball team, and take an architectural tour of Chicago by River Cruise. It's a great way to see the city and learn about some of the unique designs of the city buildings before a free afternoon in the city. Now, that river is also turned green for St. Patrick's Day. That's one of their big celebrations. And I wonder if it's still going to be that green in May. Now, before returning home, you'll tour the 500-acre estate of the editor of Chicago Tribune, the newspaper, and that area is called Cantigny Park. So, a wonderful trip run by Pat Conway, September 15th, and May 25th is the other departure. Now, as we get into the South, talking a little bit about Savannah and Charleston, and we incorporate parts of 3 states on the Atlantic coastal stretch of South Carolina, Georgia, and Florida. And we start this tour in beautiful Charleston and stay 3 nights near the historic district. Now, if you're a landscape or gardening enthusiast, this tour is especially for you, as our first visit is to Middleton Place, and that is home of America's oldest landscape garden. The stone masonry of the buildings and the well-kept grounds really bring to life the life in the South. Now, then it's off on a city tour of Charleston, originally called Charlestown after King Charles, and it was settled by the English in 1670. This is one of America's oldest cities and sits next to the Ashley River. Now, Charleston also has all sorts of great sculptures that have pineapple featured on it. And that is the symbol of hospitality, and the Charleston people are very, very welcoming. So Charleston was the commercial center of trade in rice and in indigo. And from there, it's off to continue our journey south, where we see Beaufort, South Carolina. Now, throughout our journey, you'll be seeing some of the historic mansions of the South, and the Alston House is one of them. It's been through all sorts of chaos with the Civil War and natural disasters, but it stood the test of time. And on arrival in Beaufort, we actually visit the town in style on carriage ride tour and take that through the city, seeing charming homes and mansions and beautiful historic properties along the way. From there, we stay 2 nights in the city of Savannah, and this is one of my favorite locations in the South. Its European-style charm and public squares, oaks and azaleas, along with fountains and statues, bring to life its connection with the Old World. And on our city tour, we see the old Cotton Exchange, River Street, and the site of General Sherman's March to the Sea in Madison Square. Then for 2 nights, we're lucky enough to stay at the famous Jekyll Island Club, and that was built in the 1880s. Originally, it was the site of an exclusive hunting club, but once opened under the new name, it was known as the richest, most exclusive, and inaccessible club in the world. Now, the island was home to the Rockefellers, Goodyear family, and many more of wealthy fame. Their homes are part of a guided trolley tour that we feature on this program, and they're wonderful historic properties. And we wind down to Florida to fly out of Jacksonville on this departure. So there are 3 dates: March 29th, which is a guaranteed departure with Deb Howard, April 26th, and November 6th. Now, DC Cherry Blossoms, this 6-day, 5-night program focuses on the nation's capital and highlights the best time in DC when the cherry blossoms peak in April. That color of the cherry blossoms, you can see in the top 2 photos, really bring to life that area. And on your second day, we include a visit to the Arlington National Cemetery. Now, that cemetery has over 639 acres of memorial to the soldiers who have served our nation. Then it's off to the White House Visitor Center and learn about the executive mansion and presidential families. And we make our way to the Tidal Basin from there. Tidal Basin is home of the Jefferson Memorial, Franklin Delano Roosevelt, Martin Luther King, and World War II memorials that are all clustered together. And you can see the Jefferson Memorial in the upper right. Now, we also take you on a walking tour of the other monuments like the Vietnam Wall, the Korean War, and all sorts of wonderful monuments like Lincoln. And these moments in history are brought to life by our expert team of tour managers. Spend a day in the Smithsonian Institutes along the Capitol Mall, and you can choose which museum you'd like to see. And then board the Odyssey ship for a cherry blossom cruise that has narration, a live band, and fantastic food. You'll visit and tour Ford's Theater. That was the infamous site of Abraham Lincoln's assassination. And take some time to visit the museum on the lower level before getting a chance to walk into the main theater atrium and see the booth where John Wilkes Booth fired that famous shot and changed history. We leave the city for Annapolis and have lunch out there on your own before beginning our city tour that features the U.S. Naval Academy. On the last full day, you get a look inside the Capitol at the Capitol Visitor Center, and that highlights the U.S. lawmaking process. From there, it's off to Mount Vernon and George and Martha Washington's estate to the south. The city, now in Mount Vernon, they have a fantastic film that brings to life George Washington's experience from the time he was a kid through his time in the English Army, and then as he became leader of the U.S. So a wonderful experience to see that film on site there, and then explore the grounds. Now, there's a guided portion of the tour. Within each of the buildings, there are individuals that bring to life this experience. And then you'll spend some time in the education center as well to learn more about the family. You'll get to see their working farm along with George Washington's tomb. So wonderful program, departing April 10th, and this is a guaranteed departure, but only a handful of seats left. Now, San Antonio, again, this is a fantastic destination. I just got back last week, actually, from San Antonio for a few days to enjoy the Alamo Bowl with Washington playing Texas. Kind of a last-minute Christmas present to myself, and I can't say enough about the town of San Antonio. They really step up their game for events, and the San Antonio Fiesta is no different. So this is a great Unpack Once tour where you'll stay 4 nights in San Antonio. It includes a welcome and farewell dinner, and all of your breakfasts and some exceptional sightseeing. So we head not only on a city tour that features the Alamo and this famous building and famous fort is brought to life. We actually go in and see the church itself. That's generally the entrance point into the church. And then there's a museum, fairly small museum inside there, but then the fortifications and the storytellers with all different experience inside. So great opportunity to see the IMAX movie and the Alamo. And then we actually head to another mission. So this is one of the missions of Texas. And we see the Mission San Jose. So this is just a little ways outside the city. And we also incorporate the Texas Cavaliers River Parade. This is a wonderful opportunity to see the city come to life in celebration of the Army. This is actually a special event that takes place only during this time. And they take floats sponsored by the U.S. Army and Navy and so forth and get a chance to see this all in action. Now, we also incorporate a boat ride down the famous River Walk, and that's the most popular attraction in Texas itself. So all along the River Walk, you can see kind of in the bottom left corner is a stretch of walkway that takes you on a loop around San Antonio. And there are restaurants and shops, fantastic meals to be had in town. Some of the best Tex-Mex and true Mexican food, as well as all sorts of different cuisine. So then we head up to Austin and the state capital of Texas and enjoy time at the Lyndon B. Johnson Library and sites of the University of Texas and State Capitol Building. Also on that day, we make a visit to the Lady Bird Johnson Wildflower Center. Then the next day, we head out to the Hill Country, and just north of San Antonio, we visit the Lyndon B. Johnson Ranch. Now, sometimes we're able to go into the home. Other times they have it closed for renovations. So I just wanted to give you a heads up on that. But this is a great way to learn about Lyndon B. Johnson, his presidency, and the fantastic life that they lived while they spent time in and around Texas. So the Texas White House, as they call it, is a beautiful property. Get to see his airstrip and so forth. And then learn all about the inside of the building itself. So he had a TV in every single room of the house to keep up with news. Then we work our way over to Fredericksburg, and this is a fantastic town, and it is home to the National Museum of the Pacific War. Now, this is named after Admiral Chester Nimitz of the U.S. Navy. He was the admiral during World War II and was actually born in Fredericksburg. And this museum is spectacular. It tells you all about the Pacific theater of the war itself. This is an April 21st departure. This is a guaranteed trip to go, and we're really excited to head out to San Antonio because it's a fantastic destination. Then we have Nashville, Smoky Mountains, and the Bluegrass. And this is another fantastic program as a brand new tour in 2023. We're introducing this program as a blend of the best parts of 3 tours we've done in the past. Music Cities with our time in Nashville, Kentucky with Noah's Ark, and the Smoky Mountains with Pigeon Forge. So you'll fly into Louisville and stay 2 nights at either the Galt House or Brown Hotel. And we start the trip with a visit to the Mecca of horse racing, and that is Churchill Downs. So you'll tour the Kentucky Derby Museum, and that preserves the legacy of the longest continuously running sporting event in the entire country. That dates back to 1875. Then you can't go wrong in Kentucky without learning about bourbon. And we head over to the Evan Williams Distillery for the bourbon experience. That's a can't miss. About 90% of the world's bourbon is produced right there in Kentucky. And that's mostly due to the minerals in the water. And then, as I mentioned, the Ark Encounter, featuring a full-size Noah's Ark built according to the dimensions given in the Bible. So it spans about 500 feet long, 85 feet wide, and it's the largest timber-framed structure in the world. So you'll see numerous exhibits there and living quarters as well as life on the Ark. And then we leave Louisville and head to Lexington. And that's where we visit the Kentucky Horse Park, and that celebrates man's relationship with the majestic animal of the horse. Then the Great Smoky Mountains National Park is a scenic wilderness area covering 816 square miles. And that was established in the 1930s, and it protects a hardwood forest. So it's home to some of the highest peaks in the Appalachian Mountains and home to species of animals including black bear, wild boar, fox, and wolves. Now in 2021, it was the most visited national park with over 12 million visitors. Then we take you into the beautiful state of North Carolina and head to the Biltmore Estate that was constructed in 1895 for George Washington Vanderbilt. And it's a 250-room chateau with manicured gardens and grounds designed by Frederick Law Olmsted. This is an expansive hotel that we get to stay at when we head into Nashville, and that's the Opryland Hotel. And there's so much to see and do. You could spend 2 days alone exploring the hotel without even going into town. And there are a number of different restaurants on site, but our last 2 days and nights are spent in this magical city of Nashville. There is so much to love about this place, especially if you're a fan of music. So on Broadway, the street is lined with music venues left and right, and Music Row, as it's often called, is home to all different styles of sound. So this is a great way to really experience Nashville, the home of country music. And we see the Country Music Hall of Fame on part of this tour. So within Nashville, there's a fantastic museum dedicated to country music, and we also incorporate stops at the Ryman Auditorium, which is known as the Mother Church of Country Music. And our grand finale is a performance of America's longest-running radio show at the Grand Ole Opry. Now, Magnolia Trails in the heart of Texas was brought in just a year ago or so, and we have a fantastic trip departing March 25th as well as November 4th. So this is a 5-day program with 6 meals incorporated, and we start out by flying into Dallas-Fort Worth. Now, within that area, we do a fantastic city tour of Dallas, and that features AT&T Stadium. This is home of the Dallas Cowboys and the famous football team, America's team as they call it. Some might disagree. We see some of the historic JFK sites like the Texas Book Depository, and visit the Presidential Library for George W. Bush. And that's on the SMU Southern campus in right outside Dallas. Then as we're making our way to Waco after 2 nights in Dallas, we stop in Fort Worth. And Fort Worth is home to the Stockyard District. And right in the center of town, they run a cattle drive twice a day, each day. And we get to experience that as well. And we'll have some free time there for lunch. We do dinner at the South Fork Ranch. This is called America's Ranch. And then we head into Waco for 2 nights. Now, part of Waco's experience is the development through the HGTV series and all the different areas that they've incorporated and built up. There was about 10 years ago, there was not a lot going on in Waco, and suddenly it's become a big destination to visit. So one of those destinations as part of this tour is Magnolia Markets at the Silos. And that is incorporating several different locations on site. But the Silos Baking Company is one of the most popular there. And they basically turn these old mills into a fantastic site for shopping, food, and wonderful journey. Right across the street is the Dr. Pepper Museum, and we get to visit that as well, along with a city tour in Waco. And we wind down this tour with a fantastic Texas barbecue farewell dinner, because you can't go to Texas without barbecue. So this is, again, March 25th and November 4th. Then New York City and the Hudson Valley is a fantastic trip to see the highlights of New York. And we get 3 nights in the heart of the city, and then 3 nights in the gorgeous valley near the town of Poughkeepsie. So the trip starts with a New York City tour and local guide, and they'll teach you all about the many segments of the city. And that includes Times Square, which is a fun experience where the lights, hustle, and bustle of the city come to life. And it's also where the ball drops each New Year, just a couple of days ago. The varied configurations of each neighborhood will be on full display. And you'll wind your way through the extensive city layouts into areas like Chinatown. And Chinatown was mostly developed by immigrants. So a man named Ah Ken was the first Chinese man to permanently immigrate to that area in the 1850s. And he was a businessman who founded a cigar store. And that was a common business for the immigrants moving to New York at the time. We'll take you to the area of Little Italy. Originally, that was a 30-block sector of Lower East Side, and it's been condensed over the years to a couple of blocks around Mulberry Street today. But in the 1800s, there were issues in Italy with taxes, crop failure, and conflict, and Italian young men found an opportunity in the U.S., and they took it. So over time, the Dutch and other cultures settled in what was originally Little Italy. We head off to one of my favorite places in town, which is Central Park. And I could walk for hours through the 840-acre stretch. It was one of the first American parks to be developed under landscape architecture techniques. So the great Frederick Olmsted designed this unbelievable segment of the city with $5 million that was approved by the state. And nearly 5 million trees and shrubs were planted, and they laid a water supply system along with bridges and roads. Then we go over to Rockefeller Center and see the famous skating rink. And it is a beautiful building. And actually, during the summertime, they turn it into roller skating rather than ice skating. Then we see the Statue of Liberty in Ellis Island. It's off to those 2 major icons of not only New York, but also the United States as a whole, and take a boat out to the Statue of Liberty. So from there, we see another touching experience, and that is one of the most devastating events in American history with the attacks of 9/11. So we take you to the 9/11 Memorial, and you'll see the unbelievable fountains, plaques, and the 9/11 Museum, which remembers and honors the 2,983 people killed in the attacks. Under the signs and lights, we take you to Broadway, and that's where we've included a Broadway show. That's a fun surprise on which show we get tickets for. We also incorporate tickets to the Rockettes during the holiday season. But you'll have time on your own on day 3 as well if you want to get additional show tickets to something else. From there, we make our way out to the Hudson Valley, and this is a special experience as we visit West Point, West Point, the fantastic military academy. We also go to New Paltz, which is home of one of the first groups of immigrants to come over from France and other parts of Europe. And then we visit Hyde Park, and this was home to Franklin Delano Roosevelt, and it's got a beautiful historic home as well as the library there. We visit the Boscobel House and Gardens, and then we take a Hudson River cruise to experience the valley itself. So this is a wonderful 6-day program, October 13th, and it's led by Denise Wright. This is a guaranteed departure, so plenty of folks to go. Now, Cape Cod is a historical and awe-inspiring destination, and that brings to light both colonial and modern highlights. And Boston is one of the largest cities in the United States, and the largest city in both Massachusetts and New England. You'll enjoy a city tour that features much of the history of our country's foundation before heading out to the Cape. And Cape Cod is a hooked sandy peninsula that dates to the glacial period and encompasses southeastern Massachusetts, extending about 65 miles into the Atlantic Ocean. Now, it's also home to Plymouth, Massachusetts, and the Pilgrims who came over on the Mayflower in 1620. Now, we will visit a replica of the Mayflower and the original plantation, as well as a stop at Plymouth Rock. We stay 5 nights in either Hyannis or Yarmouth and journey to many of the sites, including ferry rides to Nantucket and Martha's Vineyard. So in Nantucket, we see the Whaling Museum. That's how a lot of people got their wealth in that area. And then Martha's Vineyard is a spectacular visit. We also get into Rhode Island. We see Newport, Rhode Island on a city tour, and the famous Breakers Mansion. That was home to the Vanderbilt family in the late 1800s and early 1900s. This is our most popular East Coast trip, and you can see the extensive list of dates on there. We didn't get to adding the guaranteed departures, but we do have several guaranteed departures to go on Cape Cod. So for the best weather, we plan the trip in the summer and early fall, and that maximizes temperatures and also hits some of the fall colors with fall foliage. Now, Brandywine, Philadelphia, and Amish Country is a fantastic program. I really love this trip as it really highlights a great city in Philadelphia. We changed this over the years from multiple hotels to a 1-hotel stay right in the heart of the city, and then venture out to great locations like Longwood Gardens, which is a fantastic stretch, acres and acres of plantation and garden. Nemours Mansion, again, this family the DuPont family had run these 2 locations for years and years, and the DuPonts were famous for gunpowder and many other inventions. We also work our way out to Valley Forge, and this is where President Washington really rallied the troops when it came to all these different militias of the U.S. and banded together to defeat the British. Then we work our way out to Hershey, Pennsylvania, and this is home of chocolate. So if you're a big chocolate lover, we'll go to Hershey and do not only the Hershey Museum, but also the chocolate tasting experience there. And then it's off to Amish Country. Now, this is a chance to get into the real life of folks who believe in the Amish way of life. They are very true to their roots, and we do a fantastic traditional dinner as a farewell portion. So get a chance to sit down with folks in that community. And on our city tour of Philadelphia, we also incorporate Independence Hall and the National Constitution Museum. So wonderful programs. We have a couple of dates, June 4th and September 24th. Now, Coastal Maine is a great program as well, and we have changed this a little bit over the years. We fly into Boston to start out the tour, and on day 1, you get to see one of the nation's oldest cities, founded by the Puritans in 1630. And a sightseeing tour of Boston includes the State House, designed by Charles Bulfinch. It's Boston's oldest public building, and that also housed the reading of the Declaration of Independence from its balcony. You'll see Boston Common, which is a 50-acre central public park in downtown, and it's the oldest city park in the United States, dating to 1634. We also include a visit to Old North Church, and that's where in 1775, Sexton displayed 2 lanterns in the steeple That signaled the departure of the British from Boston, and it's also where Paul Revere made his famous ride. The USS Constitution first launched in 1797 and is nicknamed Old Ironsides, and we get to see that as well. And then Fenway Park. This is home of the Boston Red Sox since 1912. It's the oldest ballpark in the U.S., and we include a tour of the stadium on the program, which is a big hit. And even if you're not a big baseball fan, people absolutely love this portion. We enter Maine, the northeasternmost U.S. state with 1.4 million residents, and it's known for its rocky coastline, maritime history, and natural beauty. Now, lighthouses dot the coast, as do lobster shacks and sandy beaches. So Maine is known as the Pine Tree State, as forest land covers about 89% of the state's land area. Maine's got a long, rocky coast. It's known for its frigid waters and ample fishery, so most famed for the Maine lobster. And you'll rest your head in either Portland or Kennebunkport for a 5-night stay. Now, Portland has about 60,000, almost 70,000 residents, and it's Maine's largest city. And the old port features working fishing wharfs and converted warehouses with restaurants and shops. Now, this is a quaint little community and historic district with cobblestone streets, brick buildings, housing clothing boutiques, gourmet food stores, and souvenir shops. Now, on day 3, we tour and see the Casco Bay by cruise and get to see all sorts of lighthouses, fishing boats, local homes, and hopefully some sea life like seals. And this is also where migrating humpback whales can be seen. So we visit the famous Portland Head Lighthouse, which is on Cape Elizabeth. And that light station sits on a head of land at the entrance of the primary shipping canal. And completed in 1791, it's the oldest lighthouse in Maine, and just a beautiful sight for photographers. Then we also visit the town of Kennebunkport in southern Maine, and it's known for its beaches as well as the Bush Compound and the Seashore Trolley Museum. We work our way along Ocean Drive and get a view of former President Bush's summer White House, and that's known as the Walker Point Estate or the Bush Compound. Then we go into the town of Ogunquit, and that's a town on Maine's south coast. And Ogunquit Beach is a long sandy peninsula, and it lies between the Atlantic Ocean and the Ogunquit River. Now, one of the highlights for a lot of people is the lobster boat cruise, and that's where local fishermen take you out on a working lobster boat for a hands-on lobster experience. Then we incorporate several other lobster experiences like a lobster clam bake. And the New England clam bake is a traditional method of cooking seafood like lobster, mussels, crabs, and soft-shell clams. And they steam them, all the ingredients over a seaweed in a pit oven. And the meal usually features not only seafood, but also corn and, of course, dessert. Then we work our way up into New Hampshire. And this is where we get a chance to see the White Mountains and take the North Conway Scenic Railroad. So a wonderful program, departing several times during the summer and fall, July, August, September, and October. Now, I'm really excited to talk about Spain and Portugal. This is a fantastic destination. And back in 2019, I really fell in love with my time in Portugal, and I've told all my friends to get out and see it. And so this departure takes off November 2nd, beginning in Lisbon. And Lisbon is a fantastic city. It's become one of my new gems in travel. And the people, the food, the area, and the sights are all amazing. Now, after years as a sailing power, Portugal reached its peak in 1815 as a trading power. And their territory and empire reached 4 million square miles. Now, on the city tour, the capital city has so much to offer. It's got wonderful climate year-round, a beautiful bay with a bridge that's almost identical to the Golden Gate, and that crosses the main river and was completed in 1966. It's visible from all viewpoints in Lisbon, and one of the areas we get to see is the Alfama Quarter, and this is one of Lisbon's oldest and most photogenic communities in the city. It's known for its narrow, steep, and winding cobblestone streets, and its name means hot fountains or baths. We see Geronimo's Monastery, which is one of the most important attractions in all of Lisbon as a UNESCO World Heritage Site, and the Tower of Belém, and that is a 5-story tower. And on the lower floor, the ground floor, is 16 windows with cannons, as it used to defend the city, and built in the early 1500s. So Lisbon is incredible. As I mentioned before, you can grab a sangria by the bay or explore the sights in the city and sound. We do a fado show. Now, fado in Portuguese means fate. And a lot of the music experience, this is an emotional experience. It's hard not to feel touched by the vibrant performances. And so a lot of it has to do with nostalgia. The songs are connected as a yearning for something or someone. And that's why most lyrics are about broken hearts and lost sailors at sea. But it's truly a cultural experience you won't forget. And that's part of our welcome dinner. From there, we head out to Évora. Évora, Portugal, sits about 90 minutes east of Lisbon, and it's home to Roman ruins, a 12th century cathedral, and wonderful cuisine that's almost like Tuscany. The area started as a Roman town with wealth from wheat and silver, but it became ruled by the Moors in the beginning of the 8th century. So we visit Évora en route to another beautiful city in Seville. Now, Seville is the 4th largest city in Spain. It's a blend of culture, politics, and art. And as the capital of Andalusia, the region, it's home to a prominent public square, amazing cathedral, and the Plaza de España. Now, the Seville Cathedral is the 3rd largest church in the world after St. Peter's and St. Paul's. So St. Peter's in Rome, St. Paul's in London, and then Seville. Originally, that's the site of a Moorish mosque, but through the centuries and battles between religions, the mosque was destroyed and the cathedral built over it. We do a flamenco show in Seville, and this is a fantastic opportunity to see 3 elements brought together: rhythm, song, and dance. So you have guitar, castanets, and these fantastic dancers. So then we also head out to Granada from Seville, and Granada has many stories to how it got its name. The main ones come from language. Granada in Spanish means pomegranate, and those are pretty prominent. Granada in Moorish means hill of strangers, and the town was the final stronghold of the Moors, held until 1492 when the Catholic monarchs conquered the area. As part of our time in Granada, we get to see the Alhambra, and this was so called because of its reddish walls. In Arabic, it means red castle, and it's located on the top of the hill Al Sabika, on the left bank of the river Dara, and it's got a view over the entire city and the meadow. And so there's been a site there for centuries, and the first historical documents known about the Alhambra date to the 9th century, and that's when the castle became a military fortress. We head over to Toledo as well. Now, up until 1560, Toledo held the title of capital of Spain, and it is a melting pot of Judaism, Christianity, and Islamic cultures. And it became a Roman colony, and it's most closely representative of the Spanish culture. It's also a UNESCO World Heritage Site. And in Toledo, they're well known for their steel and swords. And one of the unique items that you can find there is marzipan. That's one of the things that they say they are responsible for in Toledo. They date back to 850 in their production. And marzipan is a fantastic mix of almonds and sugar blended as a filling for chocolate and other delicacies. So then we're off to Madrid, and we spend 2 fantastic nights in the city of Madrid, which is a major cultural capital in Europe. Amazing works of art, wonderful food, and great entertainment. And you can't talk about Spain without talking about paella. It's a fantastic dish, primarily rice dish with chicken and shrimp, saffron, and all sorts of great spices. But that's a wonderful treat to have while you're in Spain. And then we also offer a 2-night extension via high-speed train out to Barcelona and learn about the works of Gaudi and so many others in that area. So March 23rd in the spring and November 2nd with Chris McCool in the fall. These are fantastic departures and great trip to really experience Spain and Portugal. Then we're off to Tuscan culinary experience, getting over to Italy. And this is a tour that I got to run just a couple of months ago back in October. it really brings to life the best of what Italy has to offer. And we focus on the heart of Italy, right in the Chianti region, the region of Tuscany, and the city of Florence. So our hotel is right just to the south of Florence by about 45 minutes or so. And we go out each day as our hub. So this is a fantastic Unpack Once tour. From our hotel, we work our way around to multiple different great wine tasting opportunities. We do a castle visit as well as Vinsanto tasting. Vinsanto is a dessert wine. And our first full day, we work our way into the city of Florence. And that's where our morning includes a city tour with the Accademia and Michelangelo's David. So unbelievable sculpture with the local marble, and as well his prisoners. Those are separate statues that were partially intentionally left incomplete as they were breaking out of their bounds. Then we see the Duomo, Florence's main cathedral and baptistry, and then walk along the river Arno and get to see the Ponte Vecchio, the old bridge. And all the while, you'll take in sights and smells of the home to the world's largest outdoor art gallery. There are statues and paintings everywhere in this city, and it is truly my favorite place in the entire world. So we incorporate lunch at a saffron-producing farmhouse near San Gimignano, and visits to both that city of towers in San Gimignano, home to about 13 remaining medieval towers, as well as going to Siena. Now, Siena is home to Il Palio, the famous horse race of the neighborhoods in Siena. We'll also enjoy a 30-minute lake cruise out to Isola Maggiore. That's one of the larger islands on the lake, just south of Tuscany. And that's where we have a fantastic lunch with dinner and coffee at a really nice, relaxing pace, and you have time to explore the island. The food and wine experience on this tour is unlike any other, and we have 3 fantastic dates, 2 of which are already guaranteed in the earlier part of the year, March 21st and October 24th. But this is a 9-day program, 17 meals included. That's a lot of meals for a tour. So we try to incorporate as many meals as possible on this trip since it is a culinary experience. Then Rome and the country roads of Tuscany. This is one that is a fantastic experience and a little bit different in terms of where we stay and what we see and do. So we start out by flying into Florence and stay 5 nights north of Florence, kind of northwest, in Montecatini Terme. Now this is a spa town. Not only are the main hotels part of spas, they also incorporate spas, but this is an area of hot springs that flow down from the mountains. We visit the towns of Pisa and Lucca on this program. And Lucca is one of my favorite small towns in Italy. It's a walled medieval town. You can ride your bike or walk around the upper portion of the wall and see the town from above, or go right in the heart of it and learn all about the famous composer that was born there. We work our way out to Pisa to get a chance to see the Leaning Tower and the Piazza dei Miracoli. And again, we continue south into San Gimignano and Siena. Now, where the main differences are on this program are getting to head into Rome for 2 nights. Now, Rome is the Eternal City, as it's called. We do a full city tour and also incorporate the Vatican on this program. And then en route to Rome, we stop in the town of Assisi and learn about St. Francis of Assisi, his experience in life, and the beautiful cathedral that we incorporate a walking tour and visit. So a wonderful program, November 1st, 9 days and 10 meals incorporated. And then Italy's Amalfi Coast. Now, I mentioned the Pacific Coast and the Oregon Coast is one of the most amazing coastlines in the world. This, I think, tops it. The Amalfi Coast is a beautiful stretch with unbelievable blue water and fantastic hillside towns. Now, you can see the towns laid out in the upper picture in the bottom right corner. This is a wonderful place to visit for a week or 2. And we start by flying into Rome and work our way down into Sorrento for 5 nights. So right in the area of Sorrento, some of the smaller communities on the outskirts there. And one of our first visits is to Positano. Positano sits up on the hillside. We take a little shuttle down into town and get a chance to explore there. We do a limoncello demonstration, and limoncello is, this whole area is known for its citrus, and they grow lemons and limes, but they turn those lemons into a fantastic somewhat of a dessert wine. It's almost an aperitif or an after dinner drink. It's a great digestive. We have free time in Ravello and also do a walking tour of Sorrento. But then we visit Pompeii, and Pompeii and Herculaneum are unbelievable sights that you cannot miss in your lifetime. The unbelievable eruption of Mount Vesuvius and the destruction of that area, as well as the uncovering and excavation, really comes to life on our guided tour of Pompeii. Then we do a cheese tasting, because of course you can't go to Italy without having some great cheese. And optional, out to the island of Capri. Now, I highly recommend taking this optional tour. This is a beautiful island out in the Mediterranean and really spectacular sights and views from that area. You also have free time on the island, so if you wanted to try to get into the Blue Grotto, you could do so. That's one of the most popular sites in the world. It's weather dependent. But then we also offer an extension up to Rome at the end. So 2 nights optional extension. And we also do an optional tour day trip to Naples, and that's the home of pizza. So you can't go wrong there. But March 21st, that is very, very close to guaranteed departure. There's only needs about 2 or 3 more people, and we're ready to roll. And then October 24th is also a great time to go. Athens and the Greek Isles, as we wind down some of our international programs, departs May 2nd and October 10th. Both of these are guaranteed to go. And Athens is a bucket list item for so many people. And this is a Mediterranean dream. And now that international travel is that much easier, this tour will book up. So Athens is the historical capital of Europe, and its history stretches over 3,400 years. Its climate is superb with the legendary Greek sunlight overlooking the sea. And the city of Parthenon is an open-air museum, and a large part of the city center has been converted into a pedestrian-friendly zone. So we see on our city tour an area called Syntagma Square. This is Constitution Square as the city center, the main square in town. Then we also get a chance to visit the Temple of Zeus. And this is a massive temple, the most important building in the Altis. It's the largest temple in the Peloponnese and dates to around 470. We visit the Olympic Stadium, and it's in its earliest days, there were no seats. Everybody sat on the ground, and during the modern era, when they started to have the first modern Olympic Games, they converted it and brought in some of the marble from the local mountain that was also the responsible for the Acropolis. And in 1896, they put in that marble, and now the stadium seats 50,000. We see the Parthenon, which is a shrine to Athena and home of the treasury of the Delian League. And this is a magnificent rebuilding program directed by the Athenian statesman Pericles. So that dates back to 438. And that same year, a statue of Athena was also dedicated out of gold and ivory. The Acropolis sits up on the hill. That's part of where the Parthenon sits. And this is a centrally oriented district in ancient Greek cities as part of Greek city planning. So it's both from a religious and military point of view. And a hilltop site is known as a very valuable source as it's closer to the gods. So we see the Acropolis Museum on this tour. And the first exhibition space on the ground floor contains finds from the slopes of the Acropolis. So walls of ancient pottery and statues line the gallery. And then below you are glass floors which make the excavations that they've been continuing to do for centuries visible. So you can actually see the progress in place right below your feet. They've been working on additional finds for many, many years, and artifacts found in the museum date back to 500 BC. Now, as we work our way around Athens, we visit one of my favorite neighborhoods, and that is the Plaka. And most of the streets have been closed to automobile traffic. At one time, it was the nightclub district, but over several decades, they changed that. And it's now an area of restaurants, jewelry, shops, and cafes. And it's commercialized, but it's arguably the nicest neighborhood of Athens. So we get some free time there for lunch and to shop and explore. Then from Athens, we go to the port of Piraeus and take the Blue Star Ferry from the port to Mykonos. Now, this tour is a lot different from an experience on a cruise. If you cruise the Greek islands, you're there for maybe 8 hours per island, and you really don't get the full experience. But that's why taking a tour like this makes the most amount of sense, to really get into the heart of the island chain, the archipelago. We spend 2 nights both in Mykonos as well as 2 nights in Santorini. So quality time in both those areas. And the charm of the village of Chora and Little Italy as part of Mykonos are great experiences as well. So there are 2 faces to the island. One is a populated cosmopolitan, and the other is more homely and stone-paved alleys, whitewashed houses, and those unbelievable windmills. Little Venice in Mykonos is one of those most romantic places on the island, and seeing sunset from here is a beautiful experience, and you'll have time to do that if you choose. I highly recommend booking dinner in Little Italy for that experience, as most areas are covered with visitors and a lot of crowds. So if you book a restaurant, you get out of the crowds and really get a great meal while looking out over the sunset. Then we take a ferry over to the island of Delos, and you'll be blown away by Delos and all the fascinating archaeology. Here you'll have a guided tour of centuries-old sites, and it's considered the most sacred of all islands. According to Greek mythology, Apollo was born on this tiny island in the Cyclades archipelago, and we do a full-length tour of this stretch of Delos. So it really brings to life a lot of these sites. Now, the next day, we would head off to Santorini for 2 nights, and this is a fairly short ferry ride. It's known since ancient times as Thera, and it's one of the most famous islands in the entire world. So Thera is the picturesque capital of the island, perched on top of the edge of the caldera. So this was a volcano. Again, it's collapsed over time, but it sits at about 260 meters above sea level and offers breathtaking views of the Aegean Sea. And there's no real other place like it, to be honest. Now, on Santorini, Fiero Stefani is the best place you'll get your sunset views from. And we incorporate a walking tour of the town of Ia the following day, and you'll have some free time to pick and choose activities or relaxation. Now, we do a wine tasting, and grapevines have been cultivated on Santorini since before the eruption of the famous volcano. And there are about 40 different local grape varietals grown on Santorini. Most of the tastings we do are white wines. Now, from Santorini, we take the ferry back to Athens, and we wind down the tour with a farewell dinner. We also have a fantastic optional tour, and that heads off to the town of Kalimbaka and a visit to Meteora. And that is home to 2 monasteries that we visit. In total, there are about 6 remaining monasteries in that area. And this is a beautiful sight to see, these sandstone pillars stretching out from the ground in this amazing valley. And there are about 17 monks and 50 nuns living and cloistered in these monasteries. But these are UNESCO World Heritage Sites. We also visit Delphi, and this is the center of the earth in the ancient Greek perspective. Now, Delphi lies between 2 towering rocks of Mount Parnassus, and we see the Delphi Museum as well as Apollo's Temple and the amphitheater there. So May 2nd, October 10th, wonderful program, getting a chance to see the Mediterranean in its full glory and the Aegean Sea. Then Alpine Swiss Villages is a really unique and charming itinerary. And this program is unlike a lot of different trips out to Switzerland in that it focuses on the smaller villages and takes you out of some of the bigger cities so you can see how the Swiss truly live. Now, the Swiss Confederation was formed in 1291 and has held firm as several cantons or regions combining for the good of all. So this is an amazing, amazing country, on my top 5 countries in the world. And we start in Zurich on arrival for 1 night, and soon we're off to the more localized feel. So we get to stop in the town of Bern and see the famous clock and visit the city. Then it's off to the Latterbrunnen, and that's where we take the Cogway to a town called Wengen. Now, this will be our home base for 6 nights in the beautiful town overlooking the Alps. Now, there's not much better in terms of picturesque views from this area. So our visits include the base towns of Alpine mountains like Grindelwald and Gimmelwald. Grindelwald sits at the base of the Eiger, and that is a peak that in the Alps for the strongest mountain climbers in the world at over 13,000 feet, and it's almost sheer straight up. We also enjoy a lake cruise on Lake Brienz and time in Interlaken. And we have 2 dates for 2023, July 19th and August 16th. July 19th led by Jeremy West and Chris McCool leading the August 16th departure. And I can't forget to mention Zermatt and the Matterhorn on this tour. We do an optional trip out to the south there. And then Lucerne and Lake Lucerne with its beautiful Chapel Bridge and the swans that swim through there. That's another great highlight of this program. But this is 9 days and 12 meals. And then we wind down with our Fiji Islands small ship cruise. And this is a great way to see and experience the Fijian Islands. So these are some of the most beautiful islands in the world, and nearly 300 islands in total as part of the archipelago. But we fly to the largest Fijian island, that's Viti Levu, and that's where we land on the western side of the island, arriving in the morning and welcomed by a wonderful breakfast spread. We also get to see the Garden of the Sleeping Giant with over 2,000 different types of orchids. And your first night will be at the Doubletree Resort before we start out on our multi-island adventure. And our first full day, we take a high-speed catamaran to Malamala Beach Club, and it's located on its own island. It's a quick 25-minute ride, home to white sand beaches, beachside cabanas, and a resort-style infinity edge pool, and all sorts of great amenities. The club itself also offers complimentary use of water sports equipment for snorkeling, kayaking, and paddleboarding. And then you can also book a massage or enjoy a relaxing lunch and drinks by the pool. So we start out on the cruise experience of this by boarding the MV Fiji Princess, and that's a 7-night cruise. The ship holds a maximum of 68 passengers and nearly a 2-to-1 guest ratio. So you'll experience true Fijian hospitality on the ship, and the people of Fiji are so friendly and welcoming. It's like they bring you into their family. So each night we anchor in a protected bay with amazing sunsets and sunrises, and the first stop will be Madriki Island, and that was actually made famous by the movie Castaway with Tom Hanks. So we see all sorts of great sights on this cruise and experience. We do a kava tasting, and kava is a traditional national drink of Fiji, and it's passed around in the village ceremony. So we get to take part of that. And then we enjoy dinner under the stars. Not only does the ship provide a fantastic welcome dinner on board, you get fantastic tropical fruits, and then just a really relaxing vacation to see some of the most amazing sights in the South Pacific. But this departure is October 31st, 2023. Now, some of our partners that we work with as well, this is the American Queen Steamboat Company, and they run river cruises all along the different rivers of the United States. The primary are along the Mississippi, going in multiple different directions and starting out in different ports. And then they also do the Columbia River Paddle Wheeler. Now, the Columbia River is a beautiful stretch carved out by glaciers in the last ice age. And this is a wonderful opportunity to see more of the Northwest outside of regular tour stops. We also partner with Holland America Cruise Line, and there are several different departures that we work with them on. So if you have any specific departures or interests that you have going on a regular cruise, just the two of you, we can help you book that as well. We work with Princess Cruises, and they do all sorts of programs like Circle Hawaii. They depart out of San Francisco to go to Alaska. So if you're California based, that's a great opportunity to see the last frontier with easy transportation. And then, of course, Panama Canal is a very popular cruise destination. And I've done it both ways. It is a wonderful way to travel. Now, as part of our charters, our next departure that's not sold out yet is Burgundy and Provence River Cruise. Now, our river cruises are some of our best programs in terms of the experience, the inclusions, as well as the destinations. And these programs sell out very fast. Our Holland River cruise sold out very quickly. And traveling on the Rhone River in France is an unmatched experience. It's one of the most memorable experiences of any rivers I've been on. And the cruise features 7 nights aboard the Amadeus Provence. That was built in 2017 and holds less than 140 passengers. There are only 8 suites available on board the ship, and several of them have already sold. These are the first cabins to go and get booked out. So they're much more spacious, and the balcony doors allow for open-air journey along the amazing river. We include round-trip air in and out of Lyon, and that makes for a very convenient travel experience, as with all of our cruises. Now, we include free wine, beer, and soft drinks in all of our dinners, as well as free Wi-Fi on board. And then you have the river terrace accessible, and that's also the Amadeus Club, which is another public area on board the ship. And these are wonderful, both indoor and outdoor areas to enjoy a book or chat with friends. And our first port of call on this cruise is the town of Mâcon. Now, this is where we do a fantastic walking tour and sit right next to the bank of the Rhone River. Mâcon has a beautiful layout, which is flat and easy to get around, and very historic buildings, as well as park areas and a great museum. Those are just some of the main points of the fantastic French city. But Mâcon is also home to the Mâconnaise region of Burgundy, and that's one of the most famous wine regions in all of France. So Burgundy is home to both red and white wines. The northern part near Dijon produces red wines, while the southern portion produce more of the whites. And they swap grapes throughout the area to produce fantastic Chardonnays and wonderful Cabernets and so forth. But we also include an excursion to the vineyards to a wine tasting experience and enjoy some of that fantastic wine. Our next stop was an unknown delight when I was there in 2018, and that is the town of Beaune. Now, Beaune on our city tour of this walled town includes a visit to the Hôtel Dieu. That can be seen in the bottom left corner, and it was built as a hospital for the poor in a period just after the plague and managed by the Holy See. But you'll tour the entire facility with its master artworks, nearby vineyards, and special architecture. But that beautiful polychrome roof and Gothic architecture are unmatched. Then we work our way down south along the Rhone and visit the town of Vevey, Avignon, and that is home of the Pope's Palace, the Palace of the Popes, where the Pope lived for several centuries. And then we also visit the town of Arles. Now, Arles, I had no idea what to expect. It wasn't something I'd heard about. But on our walking tour, when we ended up at this beautiful Roman amphitheater, I fell in love with Arles, and it is truly a sight to behold. So not only do we have free wine, beer, and soft drinks with our dinners, we also incorporate free Wi-Fi on this cruise and all of our river cruises. And we are offering an additional 2-night Paris extension, if you'd like to add that on. But this is an October 25th departure with Deb Howard. It's guaranteed to go. And again, these programs sell out very, very quickly. Now, just to give you a little bit more on the experience, here's a clip from our partner. Now, these cruise experiences are some of the best opportunities to travel throughout the rivers of Europe, and these are some of the most unbelievable sights that you'll see along the way. As I mentioned before, we also incorporate a optional extension to Paris, and that's 2 nights in the city of Paris, the city of lights. On our way to Paris from Lyon, we stop in Dijon and do a fantastic city tour there. On arrival in Paris, the next day we'll do a city tour and a Seine cruise to get a little portion of the city that way. And then you'll have a free afternoon in Paris if you choose to do the optional extension. And this is a great chance to get to see the Notre Dame, the Louvre, or any of the other fantastic museums or sites in the city. So again, this is October 25th, departing this year, with Deb Howard as the lead. And our final program that I'll go over today, I appreciate your patience and joining us, is the Switzerland and Christmas Markets on the Rhine. And this is a 9-day program that features a fantastic opportunity to take the Rhine up from the south. So we start out in Zurich by flying in, and we board the ship in Strasbourg. And we stay 1 night in Lucerne before doing so. Lucerne is a beautiful city. You can see it in the bottom left corner, surrounded by mountains, unbelievable architecture, and the famous Chapel Bridge that we'll do a walking tour along. And this is also the time of year with these fantastic Christmas markets. And pretty much each of our destinations has a great market itself with regional specialties, unbelievable wine, as well as mulled wine. So again, when it's cooler at that time of year, it's great to warm up with some mulled wine as you walk around the markets. And these mulled wine are put into fantastic little cups and glasses that are keepsakes. They're great options to take home as gifts for family and friends. Stack them with some candy and so forth, and it's great to give during the holidays. From Lucerne, we continue up to the town of Strasbourg. Now, Strasbourg's been back and forth for years, whether they're French or German. They truly are a blend of both, but they've been trading hands for years. And it's a wonderful city with a great market and a fantastic cathedral. So we'll do a walking tour there. Then we head up to the town of Speyer. And Speyer is a fun little area, kind of an unknown discovery for me when I was there. A great cathedral with reddish stone and fantastic interior. And there's also a market there as well. Then it's off to Rudesheim, and that's famous for its coffee. It's liquored coffee, so it's a good time, especially when it's cool out. But a great little town there as well. We go over to Cochem, and this is a fantastic city on the Moselle River. So we cut off of the Rhine and head off to the Moselle for a little while, for 1 day. And Cochem is home to a famous castle up on the hill. And you'll have a chance to do that in the afternoon if you wish. And the city center also has a Christmas market there as well. Now, not only is there mulled wine and fantastic drinks at the markets, there are all sorts of great gifts to bring home to family and friends. One of my favorites is the little prune people, actually little figurines made out of prunes that are fun little giveaways. Then you have all sorts of great food like bratwurst and gingerbread and so forth. And of course, the pretzels that are gigantic. So great food and art, local art. So I took a lot of Christmas presents home from the markets on the Danube River this year. And I know the Rhine is a great opportunity for that as well. Now, the largest market that we'll get to is in Cologne. This stretches out for several areas, several different markets actually within the Cologne area where we dock. And so we'll start out in Cologne with a walking tour and end at the market with about a half a day of leisure time, free time to explore. So this is a wonderful program. We ran it in 2021, and we depart November 29th. And this is a guaranteed departure. There's only a handful of spots left. So I will tell you it's almost half full. So please make sure if you're interested in this departure to book now, as this will fill up. And this is a 9-day program flying into Lucerne and out of Frankfurt. So as we wrap up, again, appreciate your time. What's included with our trips are fantastic destinations, tours worldwide, as well as our tour styles, like our one hotel stays. Great tour managers that do a fantastic job looking out for you on the trips. And then, of course, our pricing, which is straightforward up front, and it's all in the brochure based on your gateway, your air gateway. Our home pickup, and that picks you up right from your home, takes you to the airport. But also for 2023, our home pickup credit. So that's $100 per person if you choose not to do our home pickups. Great option for you. And then our early booking discounts, as well as several of our other discounts that we have available. I'll go over that in more detail. Our booking guarantees, so our guaranteed departures, which are enough passengers to travel, those are noted by the GD symbol. And then guaranteed pricing. And I didn't go over this at first, but our prices are locked in as soon as you put in your deposit. Now, what that means is no matter what mode of transportation sends us a surcharge for fuel, like we got last year in France. We got a $10,000 fuel surcharge on the river cruise, but we didn't pass that on to our travelers. And that's the kind of expectations you can come to know with AFC. We absorb that, and that way you don't have to. So once you're locked in on your deposit, your price is secured. We also are protected under the USTOA, that's the United States Tour Operators Association, one of about 60 members of USTOA. And what that does is it provides a consumer protection for you as a traveler. For instance, if a company went bankrupt or if there was any problems with a company, there's a $1 million traveler's assistance program. And of course, real people and real service. And what that means is fantastic staff there to help you throughout your entire tour process. So again, just going over some last details, the new credit for 2023, the home pickup credit of $100 per traveler if you choose not to do our airport pickup. Our guaranteed pricing and departures. We offer that low-cost travel protection plan, the travel insurance, which is a great option to protect your investment. And then again, the consumer protection plan is part of the USTOA. Now, as part of these shows, we try to save you as much money as possible, and we like it to make it worth your time and effort to join in. In order to get the following savings, you must use the code JAN23. These savings are available with this code through the next Friday, which is Friday the 13th of January. So if you book a new 2023 tour or river cruise by next Friday, January 13th, we're offering a low-cost deposit of $250, only available to show attendees. The standard deposit for the year is $350, so to reserve your spot, that's $100 less up front. We are also offering $20 off your travel protection plan, that's your travel insurance, if you pay at the time of your tour deposit. This offering is also only available to those attending the show. Now, one of the brand new offers that we're putting out there for a limited time is a great way to save, and that is our early booking savings. So being early to book your tour has great value to you. For the first 10 to book, you'll save $100 off your tour price. That means if you're one of the first 1 to 10 passengers booking on that tour, you'll save up to $100 off your tour. For the 11th through 20th passenger booking on a tour, you'll save $75 off your tour automatically. And now for a limited time, we're extending our early booking savings to more travelers. So if you're the 21st to 50th traveler, you'll still have a chance to save $50 off your tour. Again, it pays to book your trip early with us, and those who are in the first 10 get the greatest savings. So in addition to those savings, if you book on the Burgundy and Provence River Cruise or the Switzerland and Christmas markets on the Rhine, we will automatically upgrade your cabin one category up. This means if you book a Category C cabin with the savings code, you'll be upgraded to Category B and so forth. Now, this does not apply to suites, however. So this is a savings of between anywhere of $200 and $400 and also provides a better overall cruise experience. So the highest category, again, the suites are the most limited in terms of numbers. That's generally the most desirable, and those are the ones that sell out fastest. Then category A, B, C, D, and E. So these are all the categories that you can find in our brochure. Again, the suites are the greatest. but it's fantastic experience no matter what category you book. But for that limited time, you can get that one category upgrade automatically. Now, how you can book, you can call us at our 1-800 number that's here on the screen, our local number 858. You can email Joe, Holly, or April at afctours.com, or you can visit us on our website, afcvacations.com, and in the segment for forms, you can see that there. But easy to book. Our founder, Randy Case, used to say one call does it all. So one phone call can set up your entire tour, make it nice and easy for you. Thank you again for attending. This is the longest show we do during the year, so come back for the shorter ones. But if you do have any questions, feedback about the show, or any new ideas or new destination recommendations, you can send them to April at afctours.com. Add us on Facebook. And again, make sure you book your trips now, because these tours do sell out. There are some fantastic trips that we have offered, and looking forward to a great year ahead. Thank you again on behalf of myself and the staff. We look forward to traveling with you, and have a fantastic 2023.